This is the module for the inverse trig function, so we'll just call it inverse trig inverse trig functions. We'll call that'll be the name, inverse trig functions. And it's really just to make sure students have a basic understanding of the arcsine, arccosine, and arctangent. So for example, they might be asked, arctangent of, let's say, arctan of 1 is equal to question mark. That's the question, just like that. And the choices here, we could put them in degrees or radians. If we put in degrees, it would be nice if we had a little superscript circle so that we know that they're in degrees. So the right answer is 45 degrees. Maybe we put 30, 60, 90 here. Maybe we put 0 degrees there. We have to make sure, of course, that more, sometimes the arctan of 1 can be more than one thing. And if they don't know how to do it, the first time that the student clicks hint, we'll just say arctan of 1 is the angle. And I should put little degrees here. These all should have degrees. Make sure people know that the answer is going to be a degree. Is the angle whose tangent, or I say whose tan equals 1. Or, I'll put all of this in one hint, or tan is the angle, let's say, is the angle theta. If you could figure out how to put a theta there, we could use an x if that's easier to say. Or tangent of theta is equal to 1. Or let's write it this way. Actually, this would be even a clearer way. Let me write it a little bit clearer. So this will be the first hint. If arctangent of theta, of 1 is equal to theta, then tangent of theta is equal to 1. That'll be the first hint. And I find the less text you put, the better if you can get away with it. That's the first hint. Second hint, this will pretty much be all that we need to do. Tangent of 45 degrees is equal to 1. So arctan of 1 is equal to 45 degrees. And we're done. That is the correct answer right there. And you might want to specify that where theta, actually, where we specify, this probably should have a caveat, maybe in parentheses, where theta is between, I think for tangent, the range for theta, it has to be between negative 90 and plus 90, while for sine and cosine, the inverse sine and cosine has to be, well, that's also true for sine, and then for cosine it would be between 0 and 180 degrees. I'm 100%. Well, y'all know what you're doing there. And that's it. And obviously the other options for questions that we could have is what is the arc sine? Arcsine of I don't know, square root of 3 over 2 is equal to question mark. Or we could have arc cosine of, I don't know, 1/2 is equal to question mark. And obviously, all of these angles here, these should be the angles that we're all familiar with. Now, one thing we might want to do, because we don't necessarily want to test, although this could test their ability to do unit circle and all of that, but we might want to add a little bit of a box here, a little kind of dummy down calculator, where they can enter an angle, and then they could take the sine, cosine, or tangent of it. So maybe we'll put buttons there. But I think that might be a little bit of overkill. Only if we're done with everything else and we want to do that, then people can check it. They could put a 45 degrees here, press tangent, say, oh, it really is, it'll give the answer. It'll give the answer right here. And so then we won't necessarily be 100% testing their ability to know this type of stuff. Actually, but I think this would be a little bit of overkill, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just very simple module here, inverse trig functions.